Hey there and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, head into horror, and plunge into peril. If you've ever wanted to solve a mysterious puzzle box, you're not in the right place. We don't do that shit here. We just don't. I'm Justin, and I'm always 2 steps away from a Pinhead cosplay.
Wow.
I'm Nico, and I'm holding myself to making this part sound like Pinhead does in the movie. And if I don't end up doing that when I edit this, then I guess here's just a real close talk from me to you. How you doing? You're great. Love you.
I was gonna say you put on that late 90s radio DJ voice.
Yeah, that late night radio voice there.
You absolutely know it. WDOTD, we got just known ones and twos.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Now over to weather with Dan.
Well, I'm Dan, and I'm not going to play with Rubik's Cubes anymore.
Well, we are here today to discuss Hellraiser, 2022, that is. This one was directed by David Bruckner, starring Jamie Clayton as Pinhead, Odessa Azion as Riley, Brandon Flynn as Matt, Drew Starkey as Trevor,
Goran Visnich
as Roland Voigt, and Adam Faison as Colin. So,
Nico, you can just add a Gordon Beam as Roland Voigt.
100%.
So we open with the debaucherous party hosted by big-time millionaire Roland Voigt. He lures a young man into a room with a puzzle box, and under Roland's gaze, the young man begins to complete it. However, when the puzzle box is complete, the young man is murder-death killed by it, and Voigt basically asked to speak with Leviathan, who viewers of Hellraiser 1 and 2, much like us, will know who that is. But if you don't, we'll tell you by the end of this. We then
It's also a summon in Final Fantasy IX. Kicks ass.
Badass one.
It's also a great movie, right? But an underwater creature.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
totally.
Bird people. We then cut 6 years later to
Every
Riley, a recovering addict who lives with her brother Matt, and is also in a relationship with a guy called Trevor. Well, it turns out Trevor's not such a great influence on her, as he introduces her to a scheme to rob a warehouse. And while he doesn't, air quotes, pressure her into doing it, Riley agrees to do it, and that's what they do. This leads them to then find the Mega Turbo Ultimate Evil Puzzle Box. That is, of course, the little puzzle box that we know summons the cenobites. And it's currently
It's
in the
just
lament.
a fucking cursed Rubik's Cube.
Might be, but it's currently in the lament configuration. Well, Nico, what happens after that?
So Riley, a recovering addict, shows up at her brother's house drunk, and the two of them have a fight where he kicks her out of the house. She goes to a local playground and takes some pills and also solves the puzzle box, which causes a blade to pop out, but it doesn't cut her. Her brother shows up at this point and actually cuts his hand on the puzzle box as he takes Riley to a local bathroom and begins to treat her. He enters the men's room to wash the blood off of his hand, but the cenobites show up and murder, death, kill him times 11 million, leaving no evidence. Riley calls the cops, but I mean, what the fuck would you tell the cops in this situation? Like, honestly.
Well, she didn't see it, to be fair.
So they don't believe her due to, also she was high at the time on things. We never really get a clear indication of exactly what it was, but meds. And the puzzle box finally, at this point, changes to the next configuration. That's right, folks. There's more than one.
All right, Dan, well, new configuration, new person to talk about it. What happens next?
Well, Riley relays what happened to Trevor, and he urges her to get rid of the box. She refuses, thinking that the box has something to do with her brother's death. Together, they track down the owner of the warehouse that they stole the box from, and the woman reveals that she worked for Roland Voigt, and she also cuts herself on the puzzle box. Riley and Trevor leave, and the cenobites kill her, causing the puzzle box to change to the next configuration. The pair find out that Voight has been missing for years, and then they have a fight, and Riley heads out to Voight's mansion to find some answers.
Well, if you really need answers, you already know I'm the man for that. So Trevor, Matt's roommate, and Matt's boyfriend Colin also show up at the mansion to, give Riley an assist. And the group learn about Roland's debaucherous ways and how he was, he had sook the ultimate pleasure, and he was just getting more and more seedy and
Hooked.
debaucherous, and this, the cenobites was going to be the next level thing. As it turns out, they find that the puzzle box, I should say, has multiple configurations, and the last one lets you speak to the god of the cenobites, aka Leviathan. Surprise! Roland is actually alive and living in the mansion. How did no one see this coming? He cuts Matt's roommate with the puzzle box, and Riley's like, oh shit, she knows what's going to happen, so they take the roommate into the van and flee. Unfortunately, this does no good whatsoever, and the cenobites still manage to kill the roommate. Then the van crashes. Then Riley gets cut on the puzzle box. Damn, a lot happens in that sequence. Riley and company then run back to the mansion, and Pinhead actually has a chat with Riley, saying that she needs to sacrifice 2 more people, or else they'll take her. I'm curious, Nico, why don't you satiate that curiosity?
So the group heads back to the mansion and they get attacked by the Cenobites. Shock and awe. Riley manages to stab one of them, the Cenobites, with the puzzle box, though, and the Cenobite is just absolutely fucking obliterated in an absolutely incredible scene. The puzzle then enters its penultimate form.
Mm-hmm.
So the group find that the house has these intricate bars.
Lyrical miracle.
The house just starts rapping at them. Jesus Christ. In the worst act of personification of all time, this HGTV-looking monstrosity turns out to be an Eminem fan.
Hey.
Anyway, so the group sees these massive intricate bars that are casing the house, and they can block entry from the cenobites. But it also turns out that Trevor was working for Roland the whole time, and that Roland was playing some sort of wicked big brain 5D chess to lure Riley into being a sacrifice to the box, which, if you think about it, I feel like kidnapping would have been actually easier than this, but
Fair.
do your thing, King. Anyway, see, it turns out that Roland Voigt did, in fact, speak to Leviathan, and he asked for the sensation, I guess, configuration. And so because of this, they attached the nerves in his body to a hellish machine that looks part like car engine, part typewriter. It's fucking weird. And it constantly pulls on his nerves with short pauses, causing him everlasting torment. And he wants to stop that, understandably. Also, Colin gets stabbed by the box. Ah, fuck.
Well, first off, dear listeners, let me say Nico's typewriter car engine description, the whole time I was looking for a way to describe that, that's pretty apt. That is pretty apt. It does look like that quite a bit.
It's a good description. Yeah.
But this has gone on long enough. Dan, I need a conclusion here. What happens?
Well, Roland thirst traps the Cenobites.
Oh, no.
And seeks an audience with Leviathan. Don't worry about it. Riley then grabs the box and frees the Cenobites. Roland asks to barter, but Pinhead pulls a GameStop and tells him that he can't return his gift, but he can trade it for a new one. So this time, Roland picks power, and he is subsequently ripped apart by chains in standard Hellraiser fashion.
That's a classic kill right there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Cenobites are torturing Colin, but Riley has the box. She knows that Trevor works for Roland, so she stabs him, making the Cenobites kill him instead of Colin. Pinhead asks what it is that she wants as a gift, tempting her with the resurrection of her brother, but Riley says that she wants nothing. Pinhead tells her that she chooses lament, and then all of the Cenobites leave. Colin and Riley also leave, and he asks her if she made the right choice.
Fucking obviously.
I mean, yes.
We are then treated to a final scene of Voight being turned into a Cenobite. The end.
The end indeed. And oh boy, do we have some stuff to talk about. Let's dive into it. Nico, how's this movie look?
I really fuck with how this movie looks. It has some incredible set design, and something that we didn't really emphasize enough in the intro is just how intricate the mansion's architecture sort of looks. It is so just almost mesmerizing. It's like the fucking goddamn maze in The Shining, the fucking hedge maze in The Shining, but 3D all around it. That took a lot more brain effort than I'd like to admit, but you get where I'm getting at here. And the design of the cenobites just fucking rules, man. I really, really love what they've done with these just terrifying monstrosities.
That's fair. And it's always really good to see, an idea from, I mean, because the original Hellraiser came out in like what? It was like 80s or 90s.
87,
It was
I
80,
think.
yes, 87, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
something
so
like that.
you can see some of the ideas and concepts in that kind of brought to modern looks and technology, and it looks pretty good in my opinion. There also wasn't a ton of what I would consider to be brutality. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely some brutal kills in this one, but strictly speaking, brutality, I don't know if that's like a visual thing or not. It's a concept too, I guess. I'm sounding kind of weird, but I'll explain more later. Dan, what's your thoughts on the visuals?
I agree with both of you. And from the Cenobite perspective, I'm a little torn because I really like how they look.
Because they get torn up. You get it. You get it.
I really like how they look, but I feel like in the original, they were a little bit more, I don't know. In this one, they have like parts of their skin ripped open and stuff like that, but it almost doesn't look like skin or their insides, muscles, and things being shown necessarily, because it's almost so grandiose or so showy that it's not quite as brutal as the originals, I think. But I actually like it. I think they look kind of cool and they look a little bit more foreign, I think, than and
Definitely.
inhuman than they did in the originals.
Yes. Let's not cross any lines here. They look like foreigners. No.
Not that kind of
Not that kind of foreign. Alien.
No.
Alien. Inhuman.
Hey, not the kind of aliens
Oh shit!
like from
oh,
a different.
Shit.
No, not
oh,
that
shit.
kind. Of,
Not that either.
Not that either.
Not that either. But no. So, in terms of sound, I will say I thought this movie a real cherry on your ice cream that goes with cherry flavor, if you will, because
I've never had cherry ice cream. Have y'all had cherry ice cream?
no.
I have. It's delicious.
All right. Shout outs to cherry ice cream. One of the few good things in the world, I guess.
I'm a bigger fan of pineapple coconut myself. But anyways, in terms of the sound, I would say this movie does have some callbacks to the original too. And those are the two that we're going to refer to on the pod because those are the ones we've seen for the pod. But I like the callbacks. I also like some of the new stuff. I like a lot of the different sounds. There was one, what was it? There was like a blade or something. It was like swing. I was like, yo, they really went in, and it's in a good way. I liked it, and I really wouldn't change anything. I was quite a fan of the sound. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, I agree. And I just gotta say, I fucking loved Pinhead's voice.
I'm totally going to add here too.
Like, that was fucking cool. It was great sound design. Just like a layered voice. You could hear the more feminine side, but then you could also hear like the deeper, more like demonic sort of voice. It was very well done.
I think that also plays to the description of the original Pinhead.
Agreed. A more androgynous sort of.
Yeah.
I think they tried to represent that with the voice a little bit. But Nico, sound for you.
I fucking loved the soundtrack for this one. It is one of the most just viscerally pulsing kind of soundtracks I've heard in a while. That sounds strange, but let me explain. It is a very slow soundtrack, and there are moments where the cenobites are creeping up on someone or starting to sink their chains in, and it's like you can feel the thud from the bass and everything just hit you in the fucking chest with the slow orchestrations behind it, and it really added to the tension. So big fan of the soundtrack here.
Mm-hmm. And as we were talking about Pinhead a little bit, I want to talk about the Cenobites in general. Dan kind of mentioned their looks a little bit, and we talked about Pinhead's voice, how, the original ones had Doug Bradley's voice. In this one, they had, again, like we said before, the voice of Jamie Clayton, along with altering it a little bit, having some demonic side to it and everything else like that. And true enough. And I want to ask, what other kind of changes to the Cenobites or just how the Cenobites were in general did you like or dislike? And did you have a favorite?
I don't know that I had too much of a favorite, I guess. There was one that listeners are not going to at all understand this description because I got to like motion with my hands
Mm-hmm.
so you can't see. But there was this one like sort of more female looking one that had like a almost like a headdress kind of thing.
Was that the one that attacked with the wire and killed Trevor at the end?
Yes.
I think so.
That
yeah,
was my favorite one
Yes.
too, bro. That was my favorite. She kind of almost had
It
like
just
an
looked fucking cool.
alien almost looking face.
They all have names in the like lore, but I don't think they say them.
Yeah.
Because like there's one that's called the Gasp, and that's the like. Well, actually, no, they do because the Chatter is named.
Yeah. They have the chatter and maybe the gasp. They might mention that in this one too, maybe.
Yeah. My personal, I don't know if I can call it favorite, but the one that just like freaked the fuck out of me was actually the Gasp. I have asthma, and when I was younger, and sometimes still when it flares up, I would just get really fucking wicked bad asthma attacks, and my lungs would sound like a swamp. And seeing the Gasp actually going through those motions of just sort of like begging to get air in, and then suddenly like it's some weird fucking Silent Hill monster just running at you was truly fucking terrifying for me.
Dan, to throw a name in the mix, I don't know if that one we're talking about was the Weeper, the Mother, or the Mask. Those are the three Cenobites that are kind of not really super
The
discernible.
Mask is the one with just the mask looking thing.
Okay, so maybe not the Mask.
Yeah.
Weeper or Mother?
I feel like it might be
I'm feeling Mother.
Mother.
Maybe.
Though I can't really think of why Mother, but I feel like there wasn't weeping necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I do kind of miss was it the conductor or whatever from the original? Wasn't that like the fat blob one?
Oh, no. What was it? The Chunkster?
That was Butterball.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
Butterball.
that was Butterball.
Yo, but his name really was Butterball, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was one like the conductor or the.
Was it the female one from the original bunch?
I think it was. Well, doesn't matter. Never mind.
Well, as we continue our esoteric quest for that, I want to also bring another question to the table here. In terms of comparison to the first 1 and 2, really, how does this movie compare to those two, in your opinion?
So I really liked Hellraiser 2. I wasn't as hot on Hellraiser 1, and I liked this more than Hellraiser 2. I had a blast watching this, and I am excited to see what they might do from here. It seems like if we could get another film of this quality, since they have this level of, like studio backing now, I think there is, a lot it could be on the horizon for the Hellraiser franchise, and that makes me excited.
Dan, how about you?
This one definitely has a lot less romance and love and hedonism, I guess, in it. Because, in the original, it's about, what's her name, breaking back Frank.
Yeah, Frank the
and,
fuck.
Julie, I
who
think.
cucked.
And killing, yeah. And, killing people and sacrificing them to bring him back and everything. And, you don't really get a lot of those kind of themes and those things in this one. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think it's a different direction, but not necessarily bad. And we definitely get more, the lament configuration is now just one configuration out of 6 or 7
Yeah.
I think it's like 6.
from the box.
Yeah, it's 6.
So there's definitely a lot more
I
lore
have
in
them
this
pulled
one.
up for later.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think they obviously made some changes, but I'm, like Nico mentioned, I'm excited to see more, hopefully, and to see the lore kind of build from this new iteration of it. I think could be pretty cool.
I echo a lot of what the two of you say, particularly you, Dan, with the lack of overt hedonism. There are 2 sex scenes in this movie, but it's not just about sex scenes. It's the search for pleasure to the point where it transcends mortal boundaries was a huge deal in the first 2 movies. And don't get me wrong, in this one, Pinhead does, of course, say the iconic line, "We have such sights to show you." But it's almost a little different. IMO, IMO. I don't know. There's that. And the second big thing for me is, there's less absolute terror. And I say this in this way. In the original 2 movies, nobody is safe from the cenobites. They will fucking murk anybody in their way. In this movie specifically, they go after the person who has been cut by the puzzle box. Yes, towards the end, Trevor does get a little mashed up, but like by and large, if you're not the one that's been cut, you don't really have to worry too much. And that to me is something where I'm like,
At least at the start, it seems.
I mean, Riley is never in danger. Like,
I don't know
that's
about that one.
whoever tries to kill Riley.
I don't know that we could say that her whole situation that she's in isn't inherently dangerous.
Bro, she literally gets cut and they're like, nah, we'll take 2 people instead of you.
I mean, yeah, but even being met with a bargain by this omnipotent hell being is a dangerous situation, is it not?
I mean, she is literally the least in danger in this movie.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll give you that.
And don't be wrong, Christy definitely had her share of plot armor as well in the first 2 movies. Don't get me wrong on that point. But I kind of feel like in the original 2, the Cenobites, they were a lot less discriminatory in their rage. And they would just go after any and everyone, really. And in this one, they just seem more orderly. I don't know how else to say that. But it's more orderly and a little bit less chaotic because there's actual rules and shit. Whereas in the other one, the only rule is solve the puzzle box and make them go away. So those are the
More of a lawful evil instead of a chaotic evil kind of thing if you play D&D, perhaps.
kind of. I see you on that. But Nico, you have the stuff pulled up here. So what's good? Because we all know the lament configuration, and that's kind of the standard puzzle box, at least for the first 2 films. Yeah, it changes shape a little bit, but pretty much sticks to the lament. In this one, we have a bunch of different puzzle boxes. Could you tell me their names?
Yeah, so we've got the first lament, like Justin said, signifying life. And following that, the second configuration is the lore configuration, signifying knowledge. Following that is the laudarant, Laudarant. I don't know if I said that right.
Laudarant.
Sure, signifying love.
It's French.
And then I believe you. I mean, hey, you got me here. I got nothing. After that, we have the liminal configuration, signifying sensation. And then the penultimate one is Lazarus, signifying resurrection. And finally, we have Leviathan, which gives the ultimate power.
It's Leviathan. It's French.
The balls.
So speaking of, I want to know, how'd you guys feel about the kind of change where in order to move on from configuration to configuration, you need to solve it and then get someone's blood on it? How'd y'all feel about that? Because it almost makes it a much more sacrificing type tool, almost. And how'd you feel about that?
I liked it. It made it just a little bit more, I think, of an interesting, MacGuffin, personally. I am someone who would, I don't know about y'all, but when we saw this movie, I started getting ideas like, I wonder how you two would react if you got gifted with one of these. So
I would not have that in my house.
Fuck no.
Okay, all right, duly noted.
I would take a
duly
trip to
noted.
fucking Mordor and toss that
it in there.
Fucking mountain. Jesus.
Like Riley should have. But see, like I would be stoked to get my hands on something like that anyway. Just like watching them, fiddle with it throughout the movie, I was just like, this is very much engaging the like ADHD side of my brain.
I'm sorry, Nico. Did you just say you would be stoked to get
A gift like that? Yeah, not the actual fucking lament configuration, obviously, but a gift. Something that like did all the fucking transformations and the like weird contraptions.
Bro, we
That'd
can
be
get
cool
you
as
like
fuck.
a fidget spinner or something like that. Bro, I'm gonna get you a Slinky and a Bop It for your birthday, bro. Like we'll work
real.
something out. But I'm not getting you. I'm not getting you.
I
anything
wasn't
like that.
suggesting that. I was just thinking like, I don't know. It's a cool fucking design, and I was stoked to see it in the movie.
Nah, you're
It's a
wrong.
cool
bro.
design,
You're
but
wrong.
I don't even trust like a fake one, like a prop. No, son.
I mean, hey, I get it.
And it's interesting to me that they have each one ascribed to like a certain thing, because we obviously know at the end you kind of get to choose. And in Riley's particular case, I guess the de facto option is if you just know it's life, referring to like the most common or lowest thing, because I almost feel like they follow some kind of messed up path that you get like life, then you get knowledge, then you get like, is it power or sensation? You get one, then you get the other one, then you get like resurrection, and then lastly it's like godhood or whatever. So that's an interesting concept. Interesting for sure.
Particularly because Roland, like becomes a cenobite at the end.
He does. Now, I want to ask something real quick. Trevor, right? You know me. The listeners on DOTD will know me. I always try and give an out to the bad people here. How bad of a person is Trevor, in your opinion?
I mean, he's definitely a piece of shit, but I don't know how much he was paid to be a piece of shit.
Is that your thing here?
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's not a great guy, but he was probably in a situation where, like, what else can you do? I mean, we don't really know how much he knows about the puzzle box and the cenobites and everything.
He could have been blackmailed or something.
Yeah, and, going into it, did he know the full extent of it? Or, I mean, did some millionaire dude with a fucking car engine thing in his, I mean, you know what? Fuck it. If a dude with a car engine typewriter came up to me, like stuck inside of him, came up to me and said, "Hey, go do this," I'd be like, "All right, fuck it, I'm gonna do that." Like, all right, man.
That's fair. That's fair.
Not gonna question it.
It's rather open-minded if the two of you, I will have to say. Normally I have to fight an uphill battle to tell you how not bad someone is. But I will say this. Definitely not the greatest. It's funny because I feel like he starts off worse than he ends up, almost.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, he does offer.
Hold on, he definitely fucking dies.
Okay, I'm talking about in his whole thing, because to me, probably one of the biggest line crossing, aside from the whole death thing, is he knows that Riley should not. They don't drink around Riley. They don't put alcohol around Riley, and he hands Riley something to drink, and
which is shitty.
that was like, yo, you shouldn't do that, bro. And then he offers to take her to the whole kind of warehouse, but then he's like, I shouldn't do that. But that's literally like the equivalent of like, if for like me or something like that, like a bad chick was like all of a sudden just like removes her lingerie and is like, oh, I guess we shouldn't do this after all, you don't want that, and puts it back. I'm like, no, of course I do. Like, he tempted her and lured her out there because he knew she was low on cash and he knew she would say yes, even if he waved it in front of her and moved it away. So I was like, okay, like he starts off very manipulative, but then he's like, oh, like, let's get rid of the puzzle box. Let's not, like, he almost has like second thoughts almost about his actions and what he wants to do. And like, he even outright says when the dude tries to go for Riley, he's like, no, not her. So I think
he does try to protect Riley.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So I think like, that's why I said it's kind of weird for me, because he starts off weirdly enough worse. And then kind of by the end of it, not redeemed by any means, but I don't know.
A different flavor of bad, if you will.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like at the beginning, she's just like his mark.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Exactly.
But then throughout the course of the movie, I don't know that he falls in love with her. I wouldn't quite go that far, but I mean, he befriends her and is like, hey, like, you're a real person. Like, I don't want to do this to you, you know?
Yeah.
Very true. Very
Too
true.
late.
I really want to talk about the themes now. And I'm going to say it. This movie is a very big metaphor for addiction.
Yeah.
A lot of it, like hurting the people around you, just like making you, like question reality. Like, there's so many things, and do not have time to make a deep dive into. I could literally write a paper on how this movie is a metaphor for addiction, and Riley being a recovering addict is a huge deal, because at the end of it, when it's time for her to get her next high, her next reward, her next buzz, she backs away from it. And she's like, no, like, I know what's right and I know what's wrong, and I should not do this. So that was kind of the big thing that stuck with me. What about the two of you?
So I know a lot of addicts in my personal life, and they're all like wonderful people. I treasure all the friends that I have, but I've seen the bad side of addiction myself, and I saw a lot of some of the struggles and the pain that they saw and they experienced in Riley. So I felt a little bit not a connection because I myself haven't had any sorts of, bouts with that, but like I've seen what it does to people very, very up close.
Mm-hmm. Dan, how about you? What kind of themes do you see in this one?
Aside from addiction, like you mentioned, I didn't really see too many. I mean, I guess to put a slightly different twist on it, I mean, it didn't have the themes of like hedonism
That's
and
true.
things that the original had,
Yeah.
and
That is
more
true.
romance side of it. But I mean, we did have sort of the quest for power
That's true.
that Roland Voight goes through, and I don't know that this is a theme, but be careful what you wish for. I
Yes,
guess,
for sure.
You know,
For sure.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, it is.
I also want to say it is. I don't know if it's like just like a general jab or whatever else like that, but we see that there's, we have Roland, who is the millionaire X, for lack of a better word. We see these people who exist in the upper echelons of society far beyond what we could ever attain. And so we might question why it is that, like, Roland would choose to do this, because I mean, he had everything he could want on an earthly level, but it does go to show you that greed can be all encompassing, and just like the hunger for more and more and more will eventually lead to your downfall. Because if you offered Roland what he has now versus what he had 7 years ago, I'm pretty sure he'd go with 7 years ago, because he was
Yeah.
living it up. He was living it up. Now, it's time for the what would you do, and we're going to go ahead and say this. If the DOTD crew has ever offered a deal by a demonic entity for us to choose whatever we want, that's a definite no from the squad.
Hard pass.
But let's say, okay, maybe we do. Which configuration, not counting the lament one, are you? So, Nico, run those, just what they signify past me again. We've got knowledge.
Sure. So beginning, not counting lament, which is life, we have knowledge, love, sensation, resurrection, and power.
Dan, which of those is you?
I want to say knowledge. Because I think it'd be cool to like be a master of something, or like all knowing about, like, I don't know if it's like just in general or like about a specific topic or what.
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of cool, but also like seems the most like, or the least evil and the least risky of all of them, I guess.
Okay, and I think for your cenobite form, or what they might do to you as like a thing, I think they're going to shove an audio interface into your head. And so
Oh.
like you're just going to have like,
Your neck is just an SM57.
and you're just going to have like your ear holes or whatever are going to be like, they're going to be like master inputs. So you could plug in like an XLR cable or like a aux or something like
Ouch.
that. It all plugs into your ears, bro.
Ouch. I also feel like they would like stretch me out even like taller.
Oh no.
And I'd be like freakishly tall.
True. Very true. So Nico, which of those pertains to you?
So I feel like if I was given those choices, I would go for love.
Oh.
Just because, I'm a bit of a romantic, you understand.
So what would happen to Nico? What would they do to him? Maybe they would like overgrow his heart and make it so like his entire midsection was just like a pulsating bulbous heart with like
Sweet fucking
veins
Christ.
that could come out and like grip people.
You know how there's like the chatterer
Yeah.
and like the gasper? I feel like Nico
Yeah.
would be the sleeper.
Oh,
And he's
true.
just like asleep
Yo.
most of the time.
But when I'm up, boy fucking howdy.
See, I'm tough because I was going to say love because my heart's been broken into a million pieces, but I don't know. I just, for the sake of the podcast, I'll say something else, and I'll say,
We already know sensation's real bad. So.
Yeah.
well, I was going to say actually sensation, but for a different thing, because I want to experience not physical sensation as much, but like of the mind. Like, you know how sometimes
You
like
want to get intellectually titillated.
you know what I mean? Like, never mind, I'm not going to say it. So,
Good.
but no, I really just, You ever be on like a random night or something like that, and like all of a sudden you just like catch a vibe, and you're just like, "Yo, this is a good ass fucking night right now." And
I've
there's
never had a good night in my
feelings.
life, Justin. What's that like?
Well, that's great. But there's feelings that's just like sometimes you don't quite know how to unlock them, and sometimes you can try
With a
100
keyblade.
times.
Fucking idiots.
I know. Well, true enough. If Sora had been in this, he'd have solved this whole shit.
Yep.
He'd have just locked the puzzle
Wicked
box and we'd
fast.
have been done. But no, I mean to say like that's how I feel about it personally. But am I Cenobite form? What's my Cenobite form going to be, guys? If I choose sensation for me, but off the mind, what happened to me?
I feel like you'd have a large, like, bulbous head.
Oh no.
No. Yes, you would turn into fucking like the Trini Modoc.
Oh
You'd
shit.
definitely be Trini something.
Oh shit. Maybe I ride around on a palm tree or something. But
You just, like, run around and just be like, you just repeat, like,
Pick up yourself.
I feel like the most helpful Cenobite, bro. But I think it's time now. We've discussed this movie enough. It's time for the critical review. What do you guys think this movie got?
I think it's high as hell.
You think it's high as hell?
Yeah, I'm gonna go like a 93.
Dan.
I'm going to say not that high, but generally good. I'm going to say 85.
Well, all is right with the universe because Dan is right.
Nice.
This movie's not as high as Nico thought it would be on Rotten Tomatoes. It's at a
Okay,
66%
Oh,
from critics. Audience is right in the same neighborhood with a 61%. But fuck the world. What do you think? Who wants to start?
I'll start, and I feel like it's going to be descending order from here, but hey, I might be surprised. I'm gonna give this an A. I'm gonna give this a.
Emotions.
I'm gonna give this 89.
Okay.
It is a really well done sort of rebirth of the series, and I thought it paid homage to a lot of the motifs seen across the films, in particular the first two, in a really, well done way that wasn't hokey or cheesy. And I really loved the way this looked. And when a horror movie looks good, it just helps so fucking much, man.
Dan, where do you sit on this precipice?
I quite enjoyed it. It's definitely different than the originals, and I think that if you watch this, you shouldn't go into it thinking it's like an exact remake of them because I think you're going
Correct.
to be mad or disappointed. Anyways, I enjoyed the sort of reimagining of the series. I thought they made some interesting decisions that some of them I enjoyed, some of them I don't know, but I am looking forward to hopefully seeing more and seeing how the series kind of evolves. I'm gonna give this one 82.
I also echo that I'd like to see more from this franchise and this series if they go that way. I wanted more Jamie Clayton. I was surprised at actually in reality kind of how little they gave Jamie to work with here. So I'm hoping that Pinhead maybe has a bigger role in any potential sequels or anything like that. That being
That'd be cool.
said, I think that overall, I appreciated what the movie had going for it. I think with the next one, if they ramp up certain things a little bit, I would like it more. I'm going to give this one a 75, but I definitely liked it still.
I do agree with you there, Justin. I do want kind of like more. I did want it to be a little bit more visceral. Even again, I did just say like try not to compare it to the originals, but like I feel like in the originals, like even just like the base premise of like bringing Frank back and you're seeing this like skinless figure and like what's her name is like making out with the skin, like just the whole thing is just like fucking freaky. And I kind of wanted a little bit more just visceralness out of this one, but I still thought it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So, recommendations. Would we recommend this one to our listeners?
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Now, I agree. Does this get the golden seal of approval?
Not for me.
I think I would put it up there, but it's not getting it. We already know.
Well, I know, because I was going to say no. But
Yeah.
it was interesting to see, Nako, if you had considered it to be worthy of our elusive little club.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you have seen this and you have a different opinion, or if you agree with us, or if you just want to tell us how cool we are, we're online. Hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook. That's Don't Open That Door. Plus, you can see or listen to everything we've already done on our website. That, of course, is dotdhorror.com. But till then, take care of one another. Don't play with any mysterious puzzle boxes. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye.